for Utah State there. All right, next game, Indiana and Western Kentucky. Interesting, really weird non-conference game here right before the start of conference season for both teams. Indiana, 9.5 point road favorite, 62.5 the total in this game. I think this is a massive, dubious, questionable, worrisome spot for the road favorite here, Indiana. When you look at it so far this year for Indiana, you've already lost to Iowa. You got dominated in that game. Michael Penix Jr. with multiple interceptions in that game, struggled in the loss. You played Cincinnati last week. I know they had the they had the win in between there, but that's not saying much. But then you played last week against Cincinnati. Big game, very anticipated. You get after that terrific first half. Things started well, and then the roof caved in. Michael Penix Jr. struggled in the second half against a very good defense, much like he did in the Iowa game, and a comfortable lead early in that game for Indiana turned into a 38-24 loss at home to the Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm convinced he's not 100% health-wise, Michael Penix Jr. He's coming off the ACL injury. He hasn't looked sharp, crisp for a full game so far this year. I mean, the Idaho game, you throw it out. But in the other two games, Cincinnati and Iowa, they get outscored 72-30 in those games. I've got worries about Indiana. Penix doesn't look 100% healthy. He had more interceptions than touchdowns. Again, he completed less than 50% completion, 17 of 40 throwing the football against Cincinnati. And I know that's a terrific defense. And the secondary for Cincinnati, for that Bearcats team, might be one of the better pass defenses in college football. Don't sell them short. They're going to make a lot of quarterbacks struggle and have that kind of stat line. But when you're Indiana and you had expectations, now you're 1-2. Now you're coming off here a tough loss to Cincinnati. You're second in the 3 weeks. And now you're going on the road for this not very consequential non-conference game against Western Kentucky. Oh, and you've got a big game at Penn State coming up next week after this game if you're Indiana. This just looks like I don't trust this team to be locked in mentally and fully and ready for 60 minutes. 2 losses in their first 3 games, and their 2 big games early in September, Iowa and Cincinnati. Now you got to go on the road, and you got to play a Western Kentucky team that, look, you can argue that obviously Conference USA is not great, and their defense is certainly an area that you'd be concerned about, but they can flat out throw the football. They put up 59 and 35 points in their first 2 games. And another thing I like for Western Kentucky, they're off a bye week. Extra time to prepare here for Western Kentucky, for this coaching staff to get this team ready for this game against Indiana. And considering Indiana, I don't trust them at the moment, in this spot against this opponent, with this game in between the big matchup against Cincinnati and then a game against Penn State next week in Big Ten play. And in between, you got this game. And, you got to get ready for this air raid offense, which is extremely efficient. Bailey Zappi, he's been awesome. He's thrown for over 400 yards in all 3 games so far for the Hilltoppers. They've got guys that can make plays down the field. They play one of the fastest paced teams offensively in the country. I think they make this a challenge for Indiana. I'm on the home dog here. I'm climbing up that hill with the Hilltoppers here. Getting the 9.5 in this game. I also think this game could go over the total. Western Kentucky's an automatic, week to week, I'm looking to bet them over. I know Indiana's offense has been kind of disappointing at times, but look, as much as I think Western Kentucky's going to score and have offensive success, they're going to give up some points to Indiana here. They will. Indiana's still a good enough offense to be able to put up points. And look, Indiana's offense has been shut down by Iowa, shut down by Cincinnati in the second half last week. That ain't Western Kentucky's defense. Western Kentucky's defense ain't close to that caliber of Cincinnati and Iowa. So I think the home dog hangs, but I also think this is a shootout, and I think it gets over 62.5, 63. So I bet the side and the total of this game. Conor Mack, what do you think? Indiana, WKU?
Yeah, this is the home dog here, or just pass for me. Losing a game that they were in, and then kind of just wear down at the end and lose to Cincinnati. Penix isn't right. I mean, he looks okay. He's just kind of going through the motions. I mean, that ACL obviously isn't 100%. Yeah, I can't lay almost 10 points here. This is the home dog. Western Kentucky's defense is bad. Indiana will score, but like you said, at home, 2 weeks to prepare. I think they can hang in this one, and there will be points. I mean, Army put up 38 on Western Kentucky, but they only lost by 3. Kind of a similar type game. I think it's close, but there's points. So yeah, give me the dog, and I lean over.
All right, Grant, what do you think of this one?
I lean over in this one. I look at Penix, and it's hard for me to watch him at times because of the year he had last year. And, we have seen his talent, and he has that ACL injury. Yeah. And as Conor said, he just doesn't seem right. I've been through some major injuries. I've seen many major injuries in the locker room and things like that. And the one thing I would say about it is every human being responds differently. Some guys can fucking come back from an ACL and be money in the bank. Other guys, it may ruin their career, just mentally or physically. As I was watching Penix, man, and he was starting to throw those picks and fade away, and the energy of the stadium was going away. As I looked at, like, his teammates and the line and even the coach and Penix himself when he was throwing those, it was just this disappointing body language of just like, damn, man, like, I don't know if I have it anymore. I really thought that's what I was
like,
seeing,
it happened again, that kind of thing. Yeah,
it happened again, yeah, and I don't know if I can get it back. It was just, and I've seen it many times in college sports where it's not the hardest thing in the world to have one good season in college athletics. It's hard as hell to have multiple, and especially with injuries. So, all that being said, Indiana's going to score some points. They have talent, and I think Penix will respond. He's a college Division I quarterback, so that does say something about him. I think he will respond, although his confidence is sketchy. He needs to make some completions early. As I look at it, I just lean over. That would be my only play on it. But I could see the Hilltoppers coming up with something just based on that Penix and just everything going on there. It doesn't look good. So, yeah, I would lean over only on this one.
By the way, 2 secondary starters didn't play for Indiana last week, and it showed in the second half. They were getting picked apart in the passing game by Ritter, and they're questionable to play this week. And the place you don't want to be weak against Western Kentucky because it's an air raid up-tempo offense, which means pass heavy. You don't want to be weak in the secondary and battling cluster injuries there. And Indiana still might have 2 secondary starters out, those same guys that missed the Cincinnati game. So that could be trouble against this air raid offense.
What is the over on that, Ian?
62.5. Yep, 62.5. I think it's a fair number. Look, I know Indiana's offense has sputtered, a couple of games, but they will put up some points again. Western Kentucky's still not a shutdown defense. I mean, they'll give it up. They gave up 38 to Army. Let's not forget that in their last game. And even in the Tennessee Martin game, they gave up 21 points and a lot of yards. So I think we'll see a higher scoring game there. Next up.